Am I back in my black lipstick era? I think so. Over the summer, it's like I kind of just forgot who the hell I was. And then I don't know what happened. It started being a little cooler in the mornings, or I hit 50,000 subscribers and I remembered, oh, right, yeah, I'm Haunted Hippie. I'm Satan's favorite daughter. I'm the Antichrist herself. How silly of me to forget. But in all seriousness, yes, a couple weeks ago, I hit 50,000 subscribers and I'm so thankful to be in the position that I'm in. I love that I get to talk about horror movies for a living. I make horror movies for a living. Every day I wake up with so much gratitude thanks to all of you. So thank you all who have only been here a day, who have been here for the full 5.5 years I've been doing YouTube. Today is a special video in honor of hitting 50K. I'm giving you my top 50 movies of all time. People have been asking for something like this for a really long time, and I think that I am holding off on doing my top 100 horror movies of all time for hitting 100K. And I hope that you'll be around when that day comes. Click subscribe to stick around, join my little cult. Also click the like button and the notification bell. That way my videos will stay in your feed. This list was so difficult. I relied on my handy dandy Letterboxd and all of my previous ratings on there, as well as just childhood memories and things like that. But if there are movies that I have not logged in the past 5 years that I've been on Letterboxd, then I don't think they're all-time favorites, because I'm currently in a relationship. I have been for 2.5 years, and I have showed him so many of my favorite movies. I rewatch my favorite movies as often as I get the chance. So I think that this is a pretty accurate list of my actual all-time favorites. Of course, this is always in flux. In the time I've been on Letterboxd, I've changed my top 4 like 3 or 4 times, and I think that after today I'm gonna have to change it again. Yep, there's a movie in my top 4 that as I was doing this ranking, I realized, you know what? I do need to bump a couple things above it. So without further ado, my top 50 movies of all time for 50,000 subscribers. Oh, but I do have some honorable mentions. I'm sorry, I had to do it. Like, I had to. And one of them is gonna gag you, but first of all, Jennifer's Body. Love, so important to me, but I didn't grow up on it. I didn't really get it for a kind of a long time. I finally do. I finally love it so much. It's just not quite a perfect film to me, so you know, it didn't crack top 50. 53, we have Carrie. I adore Carrie with all my heart, but it's kind of the same thing where it hasn't been an all-time favorite. I didn't even watch it for the first time until I was like 22 years old or something, but had to be mentioned. Next up at 52, we have Kingsman: The Secret Service. This actually was my all-time favorite movie for maybe like 3 years. I discovered it later than when it came out. I picked it up on Blu-ray at Target or something and just like watched it with my mom, fell in love with it, became obsessed. And then when I went to college, I showed that movie to all my friends. Like, I showed it to anybody that would watch it with me. But quality-wise, you know, it's fallen off for me just a little bit over the years. I haven't rewatched it in a while, but I think that that was much more of a phase of life kind of favorite. Then at 51, you're gonna lose your mind. I have The Blair Witch Project, and I say this if you're new here because well, you probably already saw it. Yeah, I have a Blair Witch Project tattoo, but this tattoo goes beyond my feelings towards the actual movie itself. I was born very close to the release date of this movie and just love witch movies. They're like among my favorite of all time. I have almost like a weird kind of more of a spiritual connection to the movie, but I do love the movie itself too. So of course it had to be mentioned, but now we're getting into my actual top 50. At number 50, we have Blockers. This just is, it's an underrated movie in my opinion. I love a good comedy, and especially a coming of age comedy. I just love coming of age in general. I feel like it is underrated in the sense that those movies are just so important to society. I don't know. Blockers is cute, and it has like Catherine Newton, Geraldine Viswanathan, like a couple people that were just getting their start and they went on to do really great things. They're much bigger actors now. John Cena is in it, and I actually think he has like a really heartwarming performance. I love Blockers. I am such a sucker for coming of age. At 49, we have The Northman. Oh my god, The Northman. So I saw it twice in theaters. That movie is everything to me, specifically cinematically. But also, I definitely have a thing for Vikings. I find that to be such an interesting era of humanity. Maybe because it was kind of inhumane and it's just like unbelievable the things that humans have survived through. Because we always joke, oh, that would kill a Victorian child. Trying to live in the Viking ages would kill us. I think a Victorian child would probably fare better during the Viking era than we would. They were in the mines. From dawn till dusk, they were in the mines. Have you seen that TikTok? I'm getting really off topic, but also it just was like such an amazing return to form for cinema because it was 2022. We were only 3 years off of Endgame, and it was this simple, bloody revenge epic epic. Shot on location. I think that they shot in Greenland, or maybe it was Iceland. My favorite of Robert Eggers. Like, I don't know if that's crazy to say. I hope that history will look more fondly on that movie. At 48, kind of unbelievable that it's so low, is Jaws. Jaws is so important to me. If you've been around, I'm sorry, I talk about my grandpa all the time, and I talk about the movies that he showed me all the time, but it's because I wouldn't be here. I would not be Haunted Hippie. I don't know if I would even be a filmmaker without that man in these movies, and Jaws is one of them. It is the first real horror movie that I think I ever saw in my life, and that's why I have more of a connection to it. I mean, look, I don't need to tell you why Jaws made my top 50 movies, but it's not higher up, I think, because it is so, like, male-centric. I feel a lot more seen by the other movies on my list. At number 47, we have White Christmas. Now, of course, there will be some Christmas movies on here because my family just has created a lot of really great memories surrounding movies around Christmas time, and White Christmas is one of the ultimates. Like, I love the songs in that movie, minus the minstrel show one, for obvious reasons, but the sisters, and also those boys are gay. Like, the forced romances of the movie are so funny. The musical numbers, the technicolor, the costumes. I forget her name, but I recently learned about the woman that did the costumes for that movie. She did the costumes for like 400 of the greatest movies of all time during that era. They have some of the best dancers of all time leading the movie, some of the best singers of all time, and it's just cozy. It's just nice. At number 46, I have The Parent Trap. I cannot tell you how many times I watched this movie as a child. I connect with it so much because I am adopted and I have a biological sister that I was separated from. I have many siblings, actually, but also the first time that we met each other in person, that was the first movie that we watched together because we were hanging out. My parents went to bed and I was like, would it be too on the nose for us to watch Parent Trap? And she was like, no, let's do it. I've always really heavily related to that movie, and yes, there is more early 2000s Lindsay Lohan on this list. At number 45, we have Drag Me to Hell. Okay, in recent years, Sam Raimi has become one of my ultimate idols, and that's tough for me to say because I really try not to idolize people, because more often than not, when you meet them, they're weird or they're just a guy, but I love his work so much. Like, Drag Me to Hell and Evil Dead is so important to me. I want more than anything to emulate that in my horror films. I feel like you'll notice with my list, I don't know if I can really compare Drag Me to Hell to The Northman. I just love all out epic filmmaking. Grand, over the top, whatever. I like magic to my movies, okay? Although ironically, my next pick, I don't think really falls in with that, and that would be the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Yes, the original, not the 78 remake. Another one that I grew up on, all right? That might have been the actual first horror movie that my grandpa tried to show me. It's the first one that I really remember, I think, but it's very light on the horror. It's very psychological. It's more like an episode of The Twilight Zone. I think that it's the first movie in my life that I had to tell my grandpa, we need to turn this off because I'm too scared. I know I've shared this anecdote many times before, but my little brain could not comprehend the concept of what do you, like, your loved ones walking around, but they're not actually themselves. Horrified. That movie has left a stamp on my brain since I was like 5 years old, and I still love it to this day. At 43, we have The Thing. That would be John Carpenter's The Thing. But along with that, honestly, I would throw in the Howard Hawks version, The Thing from Another World, because my grandpa also showed that one to me very young, and I still love it to this day. Obviously, John Carpenter's is a lot more showy, and they play up the paranoia. The themes are a lot different in the original, and it's a lot more understated. I think that the movies kind of have like different strong suits. I discovered that one later in life, but we all know that movie just is that good. At number 42, we have The Ring, and this was a movie that I proclaimed to be my favorite of all time for a very long time on this channel. Maybe not my favorite movie of all time, but my favorite horror movie certainly, and I will always love it. I'll always cherish it. I'll always revisit it. That comforting green tint, my god. But I am starting to feel like that was a little bit more of a phase movie, because you'll also notice, like, Insidious Chapter 2 especially, I saw that one twice in theaters when I was like 14. There are some really formative movies for me that did not make this list. Like, Conjuring is the same thing, but they definitely were more phase films. And The Ring, I'll always have a lot of love for it. But as I've gone on my horror journey, I just have realized that the paranormal stuff is not so much for me. I still love a lot of it. I mean, don't get me wrong on that. There are just other subgenres that I love a lot more. The Ring is also kind of neck and neck with my number 41 pick, which is The Descent. The Descent is damn near a perfect film. It just sucks so hard that no matter what ending you get, it's not very good because there is the original UK ending, and I definitely much prefer that one. Okay, the American ending is far more stupid. I just don't think that either ending is good, and it's just really, really rough because the movie beyond that is so perfect. A, claustrophobia. B, monster movie. C, all of the drama between the women, and then along with that, D, like all these women having such unique personalities. Just such a well done horror movie, and it's effective for me every single time. At number 40, we have Only Lovers Left Alive. This is a recent discovery, but oh my god, it quickly became one of my favorite vampire movies of all time. Bored immortals just hanging out and talking about music and stuff. Are you kidding me? And absolutely beautiful people, like definitely people that I envision as vampires playing vampires. God, I don't know if I'll ever get enough of that movie. At 39, we have American Psycho. This one could have been higher up probably, but I only recently in the past maybe like 2 years or something discovered just how much I love that film. And I have a whole deep dive dedicated to it, by the way, on this channel. Same with Carrie and Jennifer's Body, and then I think that's it for everything I've mentioned so far. And again, Mary Harron, kinda one of my idols. I think that her film Charlie Says is also really underrated. I've been dying to watch I Shot Andy Warhol, but it's like never streaming anywhere, and I've yet to come upon the physical media. That's a film bro movie, so don't need to explain that choice. At 38, I have Babylon. Oh my god, I love this movie so much. It probably could have made it higher on my list, to be quite honest, but that is actually the last 4.5-star rated film, okay? Every movie I've mentioned so far, from 38 to 54, have all been 4.5-star films, okay? Almost perfect. 37 and up, those are 5-star perfect films for me. Babylon, I think the only imperfect thing maybe just is a little bit of the length. It's like a 3-hour long movie. The different eras explored in Hollywood and how we followed these different characters, it needs that length, okay? I think that maybe 10 minutes could be trimmed. It's a love letter and a suicide note to filmmaking all in one, and it's a crazy party. I can't believe that movie didn't get its flowers, truly. But all right, moving into all the perfect films. At number 37, we have Poltergeist. This just historically has been my favorite horror movie of the 1980s for a very long time. I do think it's possible it could be usurped by other things. There might be, actually no, I think that there are other 80s movies on this list that made it above. I think it's just because I realized, oh, I actually haven't rewatched Poltergeist it's been several years now, and if it were more of a favorite, I'd be throwing it on a little bit more often. I am such a sucker for that era of Amblin Entertainment and Spielberg. That's really the kind of stuff that I grew up on. At number 36, another new favorite, Whiplash. Yes, Damien Chazelle is my king. No, stop. I don't want to idolize people, but he has 2 films on my top 50 of all time. That's kind of huge. I think the only other guy who managed that would probably be Spielberg. We'll find out. Oh no, there's another one. Let's just keep going. Yeah, Whiplash is nuts. It's on this list for very similar reasons to Babylon. It's simultaneously a love letter and a suicide note to you're following your passion, you know, playing music. I also connected so heavily to it because I am someone who takes their craft very seriously no matter what I'm doing. I'm learning more in my old age to like do more things just for pleasure, like guitar lessons, learning Spanish, but I had an asshole of a volleyball coach growing up. I had, you know, some gymnastics instructors that I just loathed, and I really saw them and myself in Whiplash. So that movie's beloved. You get it. At number 35, similarly, I feel like is Arrival. Not in the subject matter of filmmaker or anything, but it's just that's a beloved movie, right? I am a sucker for people choosing love, even if it means also choosing loss. But I think that this movie wraps up so beautifully the fact that love is loss in many ways. Like you cannot have love without loss. Also, the aliens are amazing. I think it's one of the best depictions of extraterrestrial life that I've ever seen, and I love alien movies. It also stresses the importance of language and communication. It's just all around just a great film. Just love it. Oh my god, wait, I know some things that I forgot on this list. It just dawned on me. How could I do this? How could I do this? Wait. Okay, hold on. I had to add 2 things in last minute. I hope y'all don't mind. I don't know how that happened. I thought that I really thoroughly combed over all my Letterboxd ratings, but I didn't. Okay, my bad. That means that Arrival has now been bumped down to 37. I have to make this as accurate as I can. This video is a big deal, you understand. So now my 36 would be Trick or Treat. This one took me a little while to fully fall head over heels for. Okay, that's why it's not higher up. The coziest, okay? Possibly the best Halloween time production design there ever has been. I'm trying to think, like, maybe an argument can be made for Hocus Pocus, but I feel like the backdrop of Salem is kind of doing the heavy lifting. Trick or Treat, like, the screen is loaded up just with Halloween decorations, and that's how it ought to be. But also just how all the stories connect together and everything, it's brilliant. I love it. At number 35, I now have Honora. Just one of the best performances that I've ever seen in my entire life. That movie is hilarious. It's heartbreaking. I love everything about it. I think that Mikey Madison is one of the best actress wins kind of all time. I feel like you'd be hard pressed to find another actress that had the same level of physicality and like comedic range just all wrapped up into one performance. At 34 though, we have The Substance, okay? Speaking of this year's Academy Awards, that quickly became a new favorite of all time, as I'm sure it did for the majority of you as well. That's another one that needs no explanation, really. That was very recent. At 33, we have a release from this year, actually. That would be The Life of Chuck. The best thing that Mike Flanagan has ever done, period. I mean, okay, The Fall of the House of Usher, I also gave a perfect rating to. It would be really, really hard for me to compare the two, because The Life of Chuck is not horror, and of course, a 10-hour-long Mike Flanagan horror epic is probably what I'm gonna prefer, but that's not really relevant today. The Life of Chuck is just one of the most life-affirming, wonderful films I've ever seen in my life, and that's enough said. At number 32, we have Lady Bird, because that play is about me and my mom, and I think every girl and every girl's mom. It also hits close to home because it takes place in Sacramento, and I spent a portion of my upbringing being raised in Northern California too. I've loved it since it came out, I think in like 2017, so when I was a teenager. It cuts deep and it always will. At 31, also a recent release, we have Y2K. This is a movie that I know will never receive the love that I feel like it's due, but it's just because that movie was made for me, okay? If Lady Bird was about me, Y2K was made for me. I was such a huge stoner in college. Like, it's kind of, that is a phase of life, to be sure. And it kind of makes me sad because it's like an era of life that I need to grieve a little bit. Because those were good days, you know? Back when the old body could just bounce back the next morning, and I just would run around doing my little high antics with my little high friends. Like, it was a good time of life, and stoner comedies still really hit for me. I just adored it. I thought the cast, even like down to all the little cameos and stuff, they were great. So funny, laughing my ass off. Like, just, I adored it. Now 30, we're cutting back to my youth once again with Signs. If you've been around, you know that my love of this movie stems from my grandfather showing it to me at probably a too young age. The birthday party scene traumatized me for life. It still evokes those feelings. Like, I still want to look away when he's looking underneath the pantry door. And overall, it's not even really that scary of a movie. It's just like an excellent family drama. I've talked your ear off about that one enough, I think. That one, luckily, like, not only do I have the childhood grandfather connection, but I still think that it's a perfect film to this day. At number 29, we have Mean Girls, and I actually just rewatched this and knocked my star rating down to 4.5, and I don't know why, really. I don't, like, maybe I'm just Mean Girls'd out, but it had to make this list, and it had to be high up because throughout most of my life, it was a perfect film, and I loved it so much and thought it was so funny, but I essentially have the movie memorized now, so it doesn't hit quite the same, which is weird because there's another movie on this list that still does, and it's kind of like the same scenario. Actually, no, the scenario is a little bit different, just a little bit. But yeah, Mean Girls, I can quote it front to back. I think a lot of us 90s, early 2000s girlies can. I don't hate you cause you're fat. You're fat because I hate you. Say crack again. Crack. It's like a fifth sense. I should stop. Moving on to 28, we have Finding Nemo. Came out when I was 3 or 4 years old, you know? I mean, tough to beat. Early Pixar, so important to me. Oh my god, the reason why actually Toy Story won't make it on this list is because I haven't rewatched it in a long time. I don't think I've ever logged it on Letterboxd, actually. Ooh. But I just was sent the whole 4-movie collection on physical media, so that's gonna change soon. But anyway, Finding Nemo. Do I need to explain myself? I don't think so. I never thought that we would get early 2000s quality of Pixar ever again, but then Soul came out, and Inside Out, and Coco, and honestly, like, those are movies that probably should have made this list as well, but they came out later in life for me. And you know what? Coco should have made the list. Coco really should have made the list. I had a grandmother pass from dementia, and like, I just just felt that movie to my bones. But anyway, I think that all of those like recent Pixar are 4.5 star really for me. Finding Nemo is perfect. It's a perfect film. We're gonna have a little horror stretch for now. At number 27, I have A Nightmare on Elm Street. That's one of those movies that I can watch twice in a year. And I'm talking about the original, though, like there are other movies in the franchise that I do adore as well. That's one that so far I just haven't gotten tired of. And I think that it is a little bit more of a cultural thing because it just makes me feel connected to my community when I'm watching that kind of a film. And I think that's also why at 26 we have Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween. I feel like there's been a little bit of a shift for me because I have so much physical media that's been sent to me that I really am trying to prioritize watching movies that I haven't seen. And that's just good practice in general as a cinephile. Like I shouldn't be rewatching my favorites all the time. Like I changed up my priorities a little bit. But in the past, yeah, there were multiple years I think where I watched Halloween multiple times in a year. I don't get tired of it. It is just so comforting to me. It makes me feel so connected to just all of you, honestly. Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street really just, they're just their own little sweet spot. At number 25, we have Ginger Snaps. This is another one that for some reason took me 2 or 3 watches to like fully fall head over heels. The difference is when it clicked, this clicked like nothing before. Jennifer's Body, I'm like, yes, I get it. Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Ginger Snaps, I'm telling, like my brain chemistry changed. Like I can't explain it really. Maybe it's also partially because so much of Jennifer's Body seems inspired from Ginger Snaps. Like it's kind of the OG. But once again, I love coming of age and the werewolf as a metaphor for coming into your womanhood and the despair that comes with that, but also the power. Like it's just one of the best movies ever made. As is my number 24 pick, which would be The Hunger Games: Catching Fire. The Hunger Games, you know, I have read those books so many times. Like I've read the original trilogy probably at least 4 times. If ever there was something that I consider myself sort of like an active member of a fandom of, it would maybe be The Hunger Games. And I mean, besides horror, of course, because here, like I'm creating the horror fandom here. Well, I don't know. I'm not like super obsessed with any one thing in horror. Like I don't make loving Jason Voorhees my whole personality or whatever. So I don't even really know if what I do counts in terms of fandom. The Hunger Games, I actually am so obsessed with it. Now, I've never been obsessed with anything to the point of reading fan fiction or anything like that. But do you know what I do for The Hunger Games? I venture onto Reddit forums. Yeah, I do. I read the discourse. I think people bring up such interesting topics and questions and theories. That's how much I love The Hunger Games. And Catching Fire is easily the best movie of the bunch, but that is really, really closely followed by the original film. At number 23, we have Evil Dead Rise. I've already sung the praises of Sam Raimi. I know he didn't direct that one, okay, but executive producer, he helped helm the ship, he helped make it happen, so to me, he's still quite involved with Evil Dead. Of course, Lee Cronin, here are your flowers. I've given them to him many times. It is my favorite of the Evil Dead franchise, quite honestly. I think that might be due to Alyssa Sutherland, but honestly, the whole cast of that movie is just flawless. It probably has something to do with that being the first Evil Dead movie that I saw in theaters, but I didn't even fall in love with it in theaters at the time. I did see it in theaters twice, but it's just grown on me more and more with every viewing. Also, themes of motherhood really hit deep for me. I wonder if I had rewatched The Babadook before making this list, if my rating would go up, if I would consider that one of my all-time favorites, because motherhood stuff, like Lady Bird too, it hits different for me, I think, especially as an adopted person. Mommy issues, Anyway, at number 22, I have Everything Everywhere All at Once, and that's fitting because it came out in 2022. This one goes without saying. This was like a pop culture darling and an Academy darling all in one, so I'm good off explaining that. Next up at 21, we have Monsters, Inc. More early 2000s Pixar. What can I say? Monsters, Inc. weirdly feels a little bit more special to me than Finding Nemo, even though I definitely watched Finding Nemo more. But the reason why it feels so special is because my family did not own Monsters, Inc. on VHS or on DVD. So whenever I wanted to watch it, it would have to be like renting it at the video store. So I'm not going to choose that every time, and I don't have it available to me at home. So when I did get to watch it, it felt super special. And I just was obsessed with the doors and how the doors could lead to different places, because this is an anecdote that I have shared that is so strange. But ever since I was young, like I have really had a fixation on doors that I was not allowed to go into. I could be at a Subway and I would see an employees only door or like a locked closet or something, and I'd be like, well, why can't I go in there? I really had a thing with doors, and honestly, I kind of still do, particularly when you go to Disneyland and you're like walking walking through Mickey's house or something, and there is a fake door that has, you know, cartoon rackets and stuff coming out of it. I'm like, well, I would like to open that. Like, I actually would like to see what the inside of that closet looks like. Like, why am I not allowed? Or there's even just regular doors that you're not allowed to open in Mickey's house. And I'm like, why would you do that? Like, it breaks the illusion. I want to know what's in there. I'm talking about doors too much. Oh my God. But that was part of the reason why when I was younger, I loved Monsters, Inc. But also I really related to Boo, and I wanted, like, you know, a big Sully for myself. Anyway, I think that you get it. Number 20. Oh, wait, I fucked up my number 20 here. Okay, that's annoying. I guess at my number 20, I couldn't decide whether to put Love Lies Bleeding or Scream. So I just put both of them. I really shouldn't change my list again. Can I just leave both of them at number 20? Because I'm like, I'm in my top 20 now. And I'm like, well, I can't not put Scream in my top 20, but Love Lies Bleeding was like the most important movie to me in the whole world last year. Scream, the reasons are obvious, okay? That was in my Letterboxd top 4 for a long time. Love Lies Bleeding, I feel a very, very strong type of way about strong women in movies. And I don't just mean like Gal Gadot, she looks good in Wonder Woman and whatever, and like she looks buff. But in that movie, they still don't really let her get gross. She doesn't really bleed or anything. Women still have to look so glamorous even when they're doing crazy superhero shit. So in this movie, to see a woman who actually is like a real life bodybuilder, like she is big strong, to see her get messy, to see these two lesbians who are just the most flawed individuals ever, and they find love despite it all. And I love the fact that there is a lot of like surrealism in the movie too, and like, oh God, I just love it so much. I have multiple Love Lies Bleeding shirts actually, but I'm wearing a Lisa Frankenstein shirt today. So yeah, that one ties with Scream because they're just so important to me in different ways. Scream I discovered when I was 16 years old and have never looked back. At number 19, we have Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I feel like you can kind of see like the common thread between that, Sam Raimi, Northman, over the top, insane cinematography, fully immersive. You could be watching that movie dead sober and you feel like you've taken 12 tabs. So funny, so random, so bewildering to me how a movie like that got pitched and then accepted and made. But I love movies like that where it's like, how did this get funding? And it's because people want to make them, you know? Creatives want to make them. I want to make them. You mark my words. I am going to be making my own version of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas someday. I have toyed with putting that one in my top 4, but I just couldn't do it. You'll see why. At number 18, we have Elf. I think this is the last Christmas movie of the day, yeah. Elf is the movie I was referring to earlier with Mean Girls, where we have watched it so many times. Like, my family watches Elf every single year, mostly without fail. I think that since we started watching it in the early 2000s, we've maybe missed watching it like 2 years. I know that movie front to back, and it's still always funny. I did say the circumstances might be different because Elf is one where I have all the family memories tied to it, and I still watch it with my family every year, and so having that communal experience watching it every single time, I'm just gonna be laughing more. But I don't think I've ever watched Mean Girls by myself. That's usually a communal experience too, so I don't know. At number 17, Twilight. Twilight is so important to me. I talk about it all the time on my channel, so quite honestly, I just cannot get into it today. I can't do it. If you know, you know. I'm gonna be a twihard till I die. At number 16, we have Practical Magic. You will also maybe notice a theme of like sisterhood, or also the power of platonic love as well. That really cuts deep for me. Just low stakes, witchy, good vibes. Also really immaculate production design in this one too. The oranges, the color palette, that's probably the only color palette that I love more than the greens and blues of like Twilight and the Ring. And quite honestly, you can't stop me from being so hyped for the new one. In our top 15 now, we have Freaky Friday. I cannot tell you how many times I watched this movie because this one I believe we did have on DVD when I was younger. That's another one that I pretty much know front to back, and I just think that it has everything. I think it's one of the most brilliant comedies ever made. It hits on every single problematic element of waking up in a body that is not your own, specifically from mother to daughter. And then it also manages to have time to pack a really strong emotional punch plus a really good original song. No, 2 good original songs. And they're punk rock, like, oh my God. Pretty sure when I was younger, I like really wish that Lindsay Lohan was my older sister. Number 14, Corpse Bride. This is a movie that I still have my DVD of. Okay, that DVD is now 20 years old and it still plays just fine, as do all of the special features on it too. And it looks beautiful. Like, for a DVD, it seems really high quality. Anyway, that's not what this is about. I love when a movie makes me cry, and that one has made me cry every single time. It's a movie about love. It's a movie about being a girl's girl. It's a movie kind of about embracing death in a way. I've been so obsessed with death ever since I was a little kid. I feel like less so now because it's become more real. But so many cultures are so much more accepting of death than at least like American culture is. Death is such a somber thing here. It's not really something that's celebrated very much, but death is so much a part of life. And I don't know, that just was something that resonated with me so much, that the above world was so bland and so boring. And then you go down into the world of the dead and it's so colorful and there's jazz. That's just always something I've aligned with, that like death is a part of life and it's a beautiful part of life. And I'm getting a little bit too existential with this. Anyway, at number 13, I have The Incredibles. Is this another thing to notice? Just family? Am I just a whore for like family focused films? I feel like yes, because this one also encompasses pretty much everything. Like if you grew up with a sibling, this has got the sibling relationship, obviously the mom and dad dynamic, and then as you grow older and you find yourself in a long-term relationship with someone that maybe you want to start a family with, then you start relating to the mom and dad. A lot of it is almost giving like noir, like old school 40s crime thriller, which is just so cool, but then wrapped up in the 60s superhero aesthetic, which is so cool, and then big over the top cool robot fights. Like is that the best superhero movie ever made? Like maybe. I would obviously give honorable mention to like the first Iron Man, Avengers Endgame, I like a lot of the Captain Americas. None of those made it to this list, but I am a big Marvel girly. I probably should have at least given them honorable mention. They're just not currently in the rotation, whereas all of these are. At number 12, we have Black Christmas. Just yet another movie that kind of has a little bit of everything. The really immersive POV camera work, the fact that it is a horror movie that somehow, no matter how many times I watch it, I'm still disturbed every single time. And maybe it's just because of the ending, but something about those tracking shots and everything just leaves me with this lingering sense of dread. I adore Margot Kidder. I love her so much, and she's so funny in the movie. Provides great comedic relief. The subtext, obviously, well, can you even really call it subtext? The text of the film, the atmosphere, once again, the production design, the snow, it's such a cozy feeling movie too at the same time. Ugh, try to watch it every single year. At number 11, we have Another Round. I know my list might not look like it so far, but Mads Mikkelsen is one of my favorite actors of all time. He's up there with like Ethan Hawke, Sam Rockwell, Daniel Radcliffe is up there for me. Dev Patel is definitely making his way up there. I don't know why I'm going on this tangent. Another Round has a little bit of everything, once again, like all the best movies do. Finding joy in the wake of grief is something that just hits me really, really deep. And this is a movie that is a little bit more of a hangout, and I'm such a sucker for those. Exploring relationships with colleagues, with friends, with family, and it's one of the best performances of Mads Mikkelsen of all time. I would say that it's the absolute best, but he also did Hannibal, the TV series. So I say that we now move on though to my top 10 movies of all time. At number 10, we have Christopher Robin. Kind of an unlikely choice, I know. But if you've been around for a long time, then you would remember that this is one of my grandpa's favorite movies of all time. It's one of my dad's favorite movies of all time as well. And that's saying something because my grandpa was at the end of his life when it came out. It's just so life-affirming, and for some reason I cry at like 4 different points of the movie because it just awakens something in me that like nurtures my inner child. I think because almost all day, every day, our inner children go neglected, and this is about rediscovering it and remembering to play. And like, I'm gonna get choked up right now talking about it. It's also just because it was one of my grandpa's favorites, and when I went to go get this tattoo, my dad actually took me, and my dad got a red balloon tattoo because he'll text us every once in a while and he'll say like, have a red balloon day, carpe diem. It comes from Christopher Robin, so I'm really due to watch that movie. I'm getting choked up. I'm like, obviously I'm due for a good cry. Let's not do that though. Let's move on to my number 9, which would be Midsommar. I know. I don't know. Actually, I don't know. Midsommar is currently in my Letterboxd top 4, and I'm gonna have to change it after today. Let's see if any of you noticed, okay, before this video goes live. Let me know in the comments if you like went to my Letterboxd page and you were like, what? Why isn't Midsommar there anymore? I had to do some soul searching when I made this list, okay? It's been in my top 4 for a very long time. I love everything about it. You all know this. Talk about it enough. But the 8 movies above it, just let me explain myself, okay? At number 8, we have Before Sunrise. franchise. Love a good hangout movie. I always inject it into my veins. I'm also such a romantic, and the young, hopeful energy of romance is something that I still feel like, because I think I am such a romantic, but you know, you move into your first apartment with your partner, you start worrying about a lot more real life things and expenses. I can tell that that era of my life probably is soon kind of coming to a close. I think it'll always be there because, like, if you are a romantic, you will always kind of feel that way. I'm just saying, you know, we're not 23 anymore. We're not staying up till 1 a.m. on a Wednesday getting drunk watching Ice Age. You know what I mean? The whole Before trilogy, though, I think is perfect. So honestly, like, lump them all in together. At number 7, The Prisoner of Azkaban specifically. Harry Potter raised me. Like, I'm so sorry. I got this tattoo before we all learned that J.K. Rowling was a massive transphobe. I got this in the summer of 2019 when I had just turned 20. And then it was by like fall or winter of that year. Or no, it was like early 2020 or something, where she was like, a person with a vagina? I think we have a name for that. Needless to say, it was one of the most, if not the most important franchise to me growing up. There's only one other one that could kind of match it. Oh my god, I just realized I left another thing out. I'm leaving out Indiana Jones. You know why? You know what the problem is? Is because for some reason I've just been waiting for the right time to show my partner the whole franchise, and then we just keep putting it off. Oh, also because the DVDs that I have are shit. Like, I really need to upgrade to a Blu-ray pack or something. We tried putting the first one in, and then it showed up like this big on my TV. And I was like, I don't know how to figure this out. So anyway, Indiana Jones should also be mentioned on this list. Alas, it's not. Yeah, The Prisoner of Azkaban specifically, and a lot of us know what Alfonso Cuarón has gone on to do. Oh, also, you know what? The Order of the Phoenix. Those two, I think, are perfect films. But Prisoner of Azkaban, I put that one on the list because it was the one that I watched probably the absolute most as a child. The first 4 movies, they came out before I was 7 or something, 6 or 7. We had those on Blu-ray, and so I watched them non-stop. I literally had a little notebook where I would watch the movies and like study, and I would like write down all of the spells and what they did. I would like write down all of the creatures that appear. I was cuckoo for it, okay? Same thing goes for my number 6, Pirates of the Caribbean. I mean, I didn't have a notebook of spells from Pirates of the Caribbean, but my dad and I watched those movies more times than I could count. I was always on top of my homework. Like, school came really easily to me, and I was in extracurriculars and like sports and stuff. But also in the early 2000s, there was no Instagram or TikTok or anything like that. So if I had a friend over, if we weren't up in a tree outside, I was showing them my favorite movies. Pirates of the Caribbean, specifically the first one, but I do want to throw an honorable mention to the third movie as well. It doesn't get enough love, I think, because it is so weird and obviously is more of an acquired taste, but probably the best sea epic we've ever gotten. Like, Gore Verbinski, I love that man down, because The Ring is also on this list. No one's ever made another movie like that again. The Northman might have been like the closest thing. Anyway, let's move on to my top 5. My top 5 movies of all time. At number 5, Jurassic Park. Told you there would be more Spielberg on this list. Although, is that the only movie of his that he directed? No, Jaws, duh. But Jaws got bumped down to number 50. That was a close one. Jurassic Park for obvious reasons. I don't think I need to explain. At number 4, okay, this is my new Letterboxd top 4, by the way. Number 4, Dazed and Confused. It's gonna stay there. I was kind of toying with replacing it with Before Sunrise, actually. I'd been thinking about that off and on because Richard Linklater, he has multiple movies on this list. I'm obsessed with him. But then I just was thinking about like the sheer quantity of characters and how I feel seen in different ways by all the different characters, and how Before Sunrise, as perfect as it is, it's really just the two of them. And I love a party movie. I love a one crazy night kind of movie too. Dazed and Confused just hits all the sweet spots. Like, really low stakes, just hanging out, period piece with great hair and wardrobe. Oh, that movie is everything to me. As is my number 3, Back to the Future. Ultimately, Back to the Future is what replaced Midsommar in my top 4. I had to do some soul searching. I really looked inward and I was like, you know what? You've seen that movie more times than you can count. It brings you equal joy in adulthood that it did in childhood. Everything is still funny, just as funny as the first time. Even if I've memorized most of the movie, make like a tree and get out of here. Do you know how many times I've used that? Back to the Future is everything to me, as I'm sure it's everything to many of you. you. At number 2. Now, this is kind of a film bro choice just because of my logic, because I feel like what I just shared about Back to the Future, that would give reason to put it at like number 1, right? But The Wicker Man, I just can't deny that it is one of the best films I've ever seen in my life. And I mean quality-wise, like I'm not even talking about childhood joy, whatever. It just cuts deep. I just think it's a cinematic masterpiece. I do have a deep dive on my channel. I've already talked your ear off. I rewatched it this year for the summer solstice, so I spoke about it recently. It's one that I feel like doesn't entirely fit with the rest of this list and everything I've rattled off that I love about cinema, you know, exploring relationships, family, platonic, whatever. It's a really tough look at religious fanaticism, whether it be pagan, whether it be Christianity. Human assumption and prejudice is also heavily explored. Like, it's just an endlessly fascinating film to me. But my number 1 movie of all time, and I think will probably remain to be, is Roman Holiday. I will never not cry, like sob my eyes out at the last 20 minutes of this film. It's coming of age, it's romantic, it's a comedy. 2 of my favorite actors of all time, Gregory Peck and Audrey Hepburn, takes place in Rome, a gorgeous city shot on location. It was one of my grandpa's favorites of all time. I've been watching it since I could ever remember. That movie is the perfect soup. It makes me weak. If you've been following me for a while, you know that. You've already known a lot of my favorites, but this was tough. You know, this is the first time that I've really tried to like actually compile them into an actual ranking, you know? There's a reason why I've put this off for so long and why I'm still not giving you my top 100 horror films. Obviously, you've taken a little peek here, but by the time I hit 100K and that's years away, it's gonna change. So what do you think of my list? I know that there were things I forgot, like honestly, realistically, Indiana Jones should be on this list. Many Marvel films should be on this list. Guardians of the Galaxy, like look, it's not perfect. It's still not perfect. And I poured over it. I had to change it mid-video, but here we are. My 50 favorite films of all time for 50,000 subscribers. Couldn't be here without you. Thank you so much once again. If you want more content from me, I talk about all things horror on this channel, but I have a second channel where I primarily talk about physical media. But I also just recently started an adoption series where I'm starting to open up about that more and going on a reunion journey. And I post travel vlogs or just whatever I feel like. Also, I have a Patreon where depending on which tier you join, you get a bonus video every single week, and that includes a big podcast with my dad. I post bonus reviews, I post career updates, so there is more than enough content to keep you busy for a while if you're new here. And if you're new, remember to click subscribe, like button, notification bell, the whole 9. Stick around, we would love to have you. More than anything though, I just hope that you enjoyed this video and that I catch you in the next one. Bye.